A shout out for this episode goes to iangels.co. The beauty of iAngels is that it enlarges the number of investors around the world who can participate and be successful in wealth creation, from the best of Israel's visionary, high-tech innovators and entrepreneurs. Crowdfunding is the next wave to disrupt the time-consuming, careful diligence that angel investors have to do to find hot innovations and do due diligence on their plans, patents, and teams. And the iAngels team is the best of the next generation of Israeli visionaries and trend spotters. So check them out at iangels.co. Hey revolutionaries, I'm excited to bring you this week's episode with Bill Latino, where we're talking radar for self-driving vehicles. Yeah, there's a lot going on in that space these days, and we dig into the market and some of the technical details about what's going on and what's driving these technologies. Aha, pun intended, I guess. But first, I have a big announcement for everybody. Yeah, it's more than a big announcement. It's a huge announcement. Seriously, it's a huge announcement. And you know what? Hold on a second. I want to kill the background music. Hold on. Let me kill it because I want to make sure that everybody hears this properly. And right now, who I'm talking to are the entrepreneurs that are out there listening, the solopreneurs, the startup companies, the people that are looking to reinvent themselves and understand what's coming down the pike, people that want to learn something about the new economy and maybe some new technologies. I've been working with Destination Cleveland for the upcoming Blockland Blockchain Solutions Conference, and I was able to get a discount code for the conference that's coming up. Yeah, it's a special code. It's reflective of the show here. So it's exclusive, I guess, for Jim's Reinvention Revolution podcast listeners. It will give you $400 off the normal price. This is huge. This is big. Dana DeSantis was great to work with me to put this thing together, and not everybody has this kind of code, so it's a benefit for listening to the show. And please share it with other folks out there that you know would be interested in coming to the conference. And the conference, is top-notch. I think the regular price is $9.95, I believe. And I'm looking at the website now. This is blocklandcleveland.com. Click on the Solutions Conference. And they actually have a discount code on the main site here. So if you're just going to their site, they give you a break of $100. But again, this is exclusive. This code for Jim, it's $400 off the normal price. And the conference is huge. I mean, the speaker lineup is amazing. So just for example, Mark Hurd, the CEO of Oracle, is going to be there. Jerry Cuomo, the IBM Vice President of Blockchain Technology. I think this is the first time that IBM is going to speak publicly about what they are doing with blockchain technology. John Donovan, the CEO of AT&T Communications. Jason Kelly, the General Manager of Blockchain Solutions at IBM. Joseph Lubin, who is the founder of Consensus and co-founder of Ethereum, is going to be there. Larry Sanger, the co-founder of Wikipedia. Nick Szabo, the inventor of smart contracts and BitGold. Beth Mooney, the chairman and CEO of Key Corp, one of the big banks. I mean, the list goes on and on. This is really well put together and super value if you use this code to get $400 off. I really can't believe they offered it to me for everybody who's listening here. So, okay, but you've got to act now. So the code is going to expire November 19th. So if you're thinking about going, if you know someone that comes to mind right away that's like, oh, I know they should go to this, you got to get in contact with them now. You got to tell them to use the code now because it will expire November 19th as we get close to the conference. So don't wait. Shout out again to Destination Cleveland. All this information I have on the Jim's Reinventionrevolution.com website /resources. So you don't have to remember all this stuff. You can go to the website and remember what the code is. And also on the website, I have a code for all the corporate members out there. So they're trying to give a break to the new people, the people that want to learn about this technology. They're giving a higher discount. But if you fall into the category where you're bigger corporate player and you have other bigger resources, they have a different discount code. It's BSC200, which you'll see on the website, which I think it's a couple $100. So they're just trying to, you could just use the honor system here and decide what category you're in. But, if you as an individual, you want to learn about this stuff, don't be afraid to use the discount code JIM, JIM. And I will see you there because this is going to be amazing. Remember, again, it's December 1st through the 4th. The first couple of days are for developers, and then the conference is, I think, on the 3rd and 4th. 3rd and 4th. And also one more shout out to Destination Cleveland. I put a link to their website on the Jim Jim's resources page. It's called thisiscleveland.com. So that's a website that talks about Cleveland, and they're the travel bureau essentially of Cleveland and the region up here. So if you're coming from out of town, you want to learn about hotels and restaurants and things to do in Cleveland while you're here, check out thisiscleveland.com. All right, well, let's get to this week's episode with Bill, who's working with Arbe Robotics, which is a technology startup out of Tel Aviv, Israel, which is now a hotbed of tech startups these days. And we're talking radar for self-driving vehicles. This is nothing short of amazing. So here you go, everybody.
Welcome to Jim Jim's Reinvention Revolution podcast, the show that explores reinvention in the digital age as it relates to career, creativity, and technology. Stay tuned for interviews with professionals, entrepreneurs, and creatives that have reimagined success and are making a pivot. If you'd like to listen to the entire back catalog, visit JimJim'sReinventionRevolution.com for instant access. And now, here's your host, Jim Jim.
All right. Hey, everybody. This is Jim Jim, and welcome to episode 42 of Jim Jim's Reinvention Revolution podcast. And I'm talking today with Bill Latino, and we're talking radar technology for autonomous driving. Yes, I'm serious. Okay, so Bill, welcome to the revolution.
Thanks, Jim. Appreciate to be here.
Hey, well, thanks for being here, and thanks for dialing in. I know you're on the road. You're on the West Coast today here in the U.S. and California, you said, right?
Yes, correct. I'm actually down in Santa Barbara right now.
Oh, okay, Santa Barbara. Wow, beautiful part of the country. And thanks for jumping on, because I know we were kind of trying to get this scheduled the last few weeks here. And it feels like, just in trying to schedule this with you, I feel sort of the energy and all the craziness that's happening in this sector right now. And the first question I have for you is, I want to try to understand what is the state of the art of autonomous driving or driverless vehicles in the market, because I just read just like 2 days ago, I'm sure you saw the announcement that Honda is investing $2.8 billion in a joint venture with General Motors with GM's Cruise. And so, these forces are starting to align, but it's very fluid right now. And, do you have a feel for kind of who's leading in the technology, and then what technology is really on the road right now? Those are my two questions. What are you thinking?
So there's been a lot of talk with Waymo and Tesla being in the lead, but GM has made some significant strides through Cruise, through their acquisition of Cruise. So from a standpoint of being a leader with level 3, there's basically 6 levels, right? 0 through 6. Mm-hmm. Each define a different degree of autonomy in a vehicle. And the current, I got to list the latest Cadillac model, the CTX, is at level 3, and they seem to be in the lead for the most part from an autonomous driving standpoint as far as actually offering a vehicle. But it's a very competitive market. They're all trying to be first. You see the level of autonomy and the introduction of, say, level 4, level 5 move up as far as schedule. Mm-hmm. Initially, we heard targets around 2025 to 2030, and now there seems to be a race to get to level 4 by 2022, 2023. So the industry is trying to really push forward with this. And then you see a lot of mergers or joint ventures like with Honda and GM, where companies are combining R&D efforts because it is so expensive and so challenging to get this technology to the market. And so GM Honda is just one of many. You take a look at Uber and what they've done with, they've worked with Ford in the past. They've also worked with Waymo. You have Lyft also doing things with Waymo. So there's a lot of sharing of ideas and technology in the market itself.
Right. Yeah, it's not clear. I mean, these ventures are starting to kind of have more clarity to them, but I think it's still very fluid. And what's interesting to me is there's the technology layer, that's the kind of the software based or the technology part of it, but also the vehicle, the manufacturing layer. And it's not clear to me like how these systems are really going to roll out. Like if it's going to be from an OEM, like GM will have an offering, or they're going to roll out through one of the ride sharing companies like Uber or Lyft, or maybe there's I think GM's even talking about a new offering where they're going to do their own ride sharing kind of company. Or something
there's
like
actually,
that, right?
There's a couple OEMs who are looking at ride sharing, like BMW, Daimler, Volkswagen. So GM's not the only one that's looking at doing that. They're probably going to be offering ride sharing through a Lyft or Uber service. You have Zoox, who is a big name out here on the West Coast.
Mm-hmm.
They are targeting to have a level 5 vehicle by the end of 2019.
2019. Wow.
By 2019, so I had a chance to be on their site, and they shared with us their plans. And this vehicle will be bi-directional, so there'll be no front or back of the vehicle, and
oh wow,
it'll be geo-fenced. So the plan is to begin production, small production, but they're going to target major cities. And for example, you'll be able to hire a Zoox car for, say, San Francisco, and stay within the boundaries of San Francisco. But say you want to go from San Francisco to San Jose, you would still have to use a Lyft or Uber. So it'll be geo-fenced to a given geographic area. But their benefit are going to be as cost-effective as renting the Lyft or Uber. But they believe that the ride experience will be much better, and that they can get to the destination faster because they don't have to do K-turns, U-turns. They'll be able to figure out the fastest way to a given location. So the value proposition, they believe, will be there for the rider.
Wow, that's interesting. Yeah, that's the first I've heard of the bi-directional concept. Yeah, if you don't have to have a driver, obviously, you can move the car in any direction at any time as needed, I guess, right?
Yes. So it's full autonomous. It's kind of like the Jetsons.
Yeah, that's really kind of mind blowing. And 2019, I mean, that's like wow. I was just out in Vegas. It reminds me, maybe about a month ago now. Around Labor Day, I guess it was. And, I've been using Lyft and Uber a little bit lately, I just kind of over the last year. Anyways, when you go out there, this is the first time I noticed it, they ask you when you're going to, get a Lyft at the airport, for example, are you okay with being picked up by not a driverless car, an autonomous driving vehicle? So they still have riders in the cars out there, but they're, using those locations, that's like a tourist location, I guess, as test beds, which I was like, wow, you see this stuff in the news and you think it's years away and, it's another 10, 15 years away, but it's really closer than we think. So
no, I was watching CNBC this morning, and there was an analyst on the TV, and he was saying that we're far away from full autonomy, and he was giving some small cap stocks to go follow. And I wrote in on Twitter, no, that's not the case. We're much closer than you're saying. And
right.
So it was, the community doesn't realize how close we are.
Right.
There's been a lot of testing that has been done by the likes of Tesla and Waymo. They're constantly gathering data. The technology is getting better. The technology is not quite there, and that's where Arbe comes in, as far as offering a 4D imaging radar for level 4, level 5 that can be used for level 3. But once that technology, sensor technology, is out there, and also 5G is implemented, which I think is at the end of 2019 to 2020, then I think full autonomy is very much achievable, and level 4 is definitely achievable. So level 4 is pretty much full autonomy.
Right. Well, I mean, that's the value of having you on the podcast and listening to podcasts, because this is, you can get closer to really what's happening out there, to the real information that you need to know, I think, for just for your understanding how the world's going to be going forward, but also for the investment side. I love the investment side and trying to understand how, the value of the technology. So thanks for sharing that. And you're right on. It's a lot closer than people really think. So in talking about this, this is also, something I want to get out there is explain to people more specifically what these levels mean. Because I think, there's maybe some confusion or they're maybe not fully out there in the marketplace. There's only level 2 or 3 out in the marketplace right now. What do the levels mean?
So there's 6 levels if you count level 0, and basically that's no automation. You have anti-lock brakes, cruise control, things that we've been driving around with for the last 10, 15 years. Level 1, you add like adaptive cruise control. Most cars have had that for a couple of years. Mm-hmm. Level 2 is where you start getting into active braking, also some lane changing alerts, more on the passive side. But and the difference between passive and active is passive just notifies you, active actually stops you from doing something. Mm-hmm. Level 3 is where you can start taking your eyes off the road from a standpoint, mainly highway. So level 3 is level 4 at, say, 40 miles an hour. And it's mostly targeted for highway driving. But
I see.
You have lane changing control, you have automatic braking. And then level 4 is basically where you could take your eyes and mind off the road, and the car will just warn you when you have to take control. Mm-hmm. But you don't need to be following. You can be doing your makeup. You could be doing working on your Twitter account, your Facebook, and the car will tell you when you need to engage.
Right. Okay.
And then level 5 is full autonomy.
Full autonomy, right? Yeah. Okay. Cool. Thanks for laying that out, because it's like I'm still trying to understand what the levels are when they talk about it. So yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
I was gonna say you can just go up on Google, just autonomous driving levels, and it'll come up and explain it pretty much in layman's terms.
Gotcha.
So you can follow it.
Okay, cool. It's a good idea. Okay, so thinking about that, how do you? What's your role and how do you fit in? So let's dig into the technology a little bit. Like at the opening, I mentioned that we're going to talk about some radar technology. So what are you doing with the technology side, and where are you at these days?
So I run sales and business development for Arbe Robotics. We're based in Tel Aviv. We are doing a 4D imaging radar sensor for level 4, level 5, targeting level 4, level 5, but could be used at level 3. A 4D imaging sensor. First, 4D is when you look at vertical, horizontal, and range, so distance, but then radar also provides Doppler, which is velocity. So unlike a lidar or camera, we can actually pick out an object moving and how fast it's moving.
Okay.
And so we are part of a sensor suite. They call it sensor fusion, where a level 4 vehicle will have lidar, camera, and radar. And our view today's sensors basically, for most part, are using camera, some using lidar, some are using radar, but all the sensors are on at one time. And so there really isn't a primary sensor. If there is, it could be considered camera. Our view of the world is that radar should really be the primary, because radar can see the greatest distance. We can see out to 300 to 350 meters. Mm-hmm. In all weather conditions. So whether it's snow, rain, Los Angeles smog, or China smog, we can see through that, where lidar and camera would have difficulty, and sometimes their performance would degrade by as much as 50%.
Oh, I see. Okay. Yeah, I think when these vehicles, or when the autonomous vehicles came out, or when the Google mapping started, I think people heard a lot about lidar I guess, and that's just laser radar.
Right.
Yeah.
Laser radar works pretty much the same as radar. It's just optical light versus radio waves.
Right.
But the same concept. You send out a signal, and you read that the reflection back and know the distance based on calculating the speed of sound or speed of light.
Right, right. Yeah, speed of whatever your source is. But
Right.
yeah, so we were hearing a lot about it. I was hearing a lot about it in the optics space, and was thinking like, oh, most of those systems will probably be lidar based. But I think it makes sense to have all these technologies, because it's really obviously, you're talking about level 5 kind of stuff. I mean, this is literally your life is in the hands of these sensors. So it makes sense to have the best of all worlds, I think, when you're putting a vehicle together. But that's the
Right,
first.
and like
Go ahead. Sorry.
and like everything, you need redundancy, right? So
Yes. Yes.
if the camera and radar are seeing something and they're different, you need that third to say validate which direction. So
Yeah, it makes sense. So tell me about, like, how did you? So how long have you been into the radar side of things? Because maybe we can rewind a little bit, tell people. So we know each other from a previous lifetime, I think, or previous job experience working in the optics world. So maybe talk about a little bit of your perspective of working on the optics side and working with some type of lidar solutions, and how you look at radar now and how you look at them all working together.
right. So you're right. You and I met when I was consulting for a lidar company. The technology was targeting both automotive and more general purpose level sensing, agricultural, more diverse markets. The difference between so with lidar, it's a new technology. It's something that the market is very hyped about, especially on the investment side.
Right.
There's a lot of different players in the lidar space. Radar's been around for a long time. It's used especially in military. However, radar for cars, there wasn't too many players in the radar space for automotive. In fact, when I first came on board on the radar side, Arbe, where I work now full time, was focused on 24 gigahertz and SUVs and drones. And so we went out to CES, the CTO and I, in 2017, and just we were pitching our product for drones, but we decided to walk around to the various automotive companies and talk to quite a few, and found that there really wasn't a significant player outside of the traditional radar providers with a new technology. And so January of 2017, we decided to make a clear break to focus only on automotive, and changed our product offering from a 24 gigahertz offering to a 77 gigahertz offering. So our product works between 76 and 81. That is the band that's been allocated for automotive.
I see. Okay.
And so that is our focus.
Oh,
and so it's been since January of 2017 that we've been really focused on automotive, and it's been very exciting for us.
I see. Well, yeah, it's interesting. That was on my list of questions for you here is drones. So real quick question. So in terms of like the regulatory space, so drones have a different frequency space that you have to stay in versus automotive. Is that how things work out
Yes,
there?
I think drones are somewhere between, it's a more narrow band. I think it's 22 to 24.
Okay. I got you.
It's been allocated for drones and UAVs, and for automotive, it's 76 to 81. That's just recently opened up, by the way. So
okay.
At one point, I think 78 gigahertz was used for satellite, but the U.S. has opened up that entire spectrum for automotive. Europe is still, I think, 76 to 78. The full 5 gigahertz has not been opened up yet, and I think China is still just at 77. But I'm sure that that spectrum will be completely focused on automotive.
I see.
Very shortly here.
Well, that was, I mean, this is so interesting to me, because I was thinking I was going to talk to you about automotive and then ask you about drones, thinking about the future, that drones would be the future, or drone taxis would be the future. But you're kind of almost pivoting the opposite way, where you think drones aren't that exciting for the moment, and automotive is really where it's at for this technology.
Well, the drone market hasn't really taken off as fast as people expected. So the volumes aren't there, and really where the volumes for a supplier like ourselves are really in the automotive space, and at some
Right.
point the pivot back.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not just automotive. You take a look at automotive. We believe if we can get it right for automotive,
Yeah.
for level 4, level 5, then we can go focus on other markets.
Mm-hmm.
For example, the same spectrum could be used in robotics. So if you look at factory automation, if you look at the last mile, so delivering packages,
Right.
these side walk drones where they're delivering packages to your doorstep, can use the technology. You have intelligent traffic systems where they're monitoring traffic flow, toll booths, also border control. And then you have the other big space would be security fencing. So around government buildings,
Right.
cannabis, that will really stretch in. So you look at cannabis farms, they're very concerned about security, security fencing. So radar can be used in all those applications.
Right. Wow.
And the
Yeah.
very high volume applications, not as high as automotive, but again, very lucrative to be focused on.
Yeah, for sure. Well, it's really this whole sort of like computing, like, increase in computing has really, I guess increase in just the internet at scale has really opened up a lot of these applications. It's pretty wild to think about. Very interesting. Well, you know what? Thanks for sharing that technology point of view in terms of the whole radar scene, because that's very interesting to understand kind of what the market forces out there that are pulling the technology in one way or another. And speaking about the technology game, I know that you guys are based in Israel, and how I got connected to you most recently was went to this investor meeting for an angel investment company or investment company called iangels.co, and you are one of the presenting companies because you're part of their portfolio of companies. Can you talk a little bit about the state of technology and startups in Israel and what's happening, and what do you think of working for an Israeli company? Is this your first time kind of getting connected to the Israeli tech scene?
It is the first time. There's a number of startups in all areas of technology
Right.
coming out of Israel. It's really a hotbed. There's also, if you take a look at who has opened up facilities in Israel, like Amazon, GM, recently Renault. They're all tapping into this technology resource, allocation of engineers in Israel. So it's a very hot market. And the demand is great. I mean, the pay that some of these engineers are starting out with is extremely high. It's almost as competitive as Silicon Valley. So trying to find really good people is even becoming very difficult in an area like
Right.
Tel Aviv.
And how do you think, like, I mean, they've always been innovative, and maybe that because of their place in the world and their location. And I know they're very they have good technology solutions for for water, for example, because they're sitting in the middle of the desert. So there's some drivers there that force them into technological solutions. But what's going on there over there, sort of just socially? Can you put your finger on it? Why there's really just such a hotbed of technology over there these days?
Well, I mean, most of everybody has to be part of the military, have a military experience. So I think that really helps. The education through that military experience is very positive, and just the atmosphere of an entrepreneurial or open thinking. They really promote ideas, and they're a very close knit family, so to speak, from what I see, and that. If get access to capital for something that's going to be started in Israel is much easier, and so it's just the environment that seems to be very positive from a technical point of view, and then they see opportunities like what happened with Mobileye, and there was another recent one. Israeli company that went for about $3 billion. So you see these startups actually get acquired for large sums of money, which only promotes more the opportunity to get noticed. So I think companies around the world have noticed what's coming out of Tel Aviv or what's coming out of Israel, and really taken advantage of the opportunity to work with some of these fine engineers and entrepreneurs, and the world's benefited from it.
Absolutely. Have you had a chance
Clearly.
to visit there or no?
I've been there twice. I'm going to go back in the end of October. It was a great experience. Really love Tel Aviv. I can see myself actually living there, to be honest with you. Food's great. People are very friendly, and the company I work for, we're a small company. We have 60 people, mostly engineers. I'm probably the only one that doesn't speak Hebrew, but that doesn't stop us from communicating. And we just feel like a very close-knit family. So we're very open, very direct. We work very hard, but the team is really driven, and we know we're going to make things happen. So it's a very close-knit family, I have to say.
Right. Well, that sounds exciting, and I'd love to visit myself. So I have a bunch of friends here locally that are that go back and forth and have like gone over there for I can't remember what they call it, like a year away. I think Israel sponsors if you're of the Jewish faith or whatever, they'll let you go over there for a year and study and those kind of things. So it always sounds fascinating, like a very interesting country, just sort of culturally, but now technology. So I'm all about all that kind of stuff. So sounds fun, man. You're in a good spot. And you know what? You mentioned something about keeping an open mind and kind of making that right sort of community for invention or reinvention. So I want to pivot a little bit. We got a few minutes left here, but there's always a few questions I like to ask folks when they come on the show. And one is in regards to technology and reinventing, and you're right in the smack in the middle of reinventing our daily lives here with how we're going to perceive transportation in the future. But is there something about technology that is that you're struggling with, or that gives you pause, or is just super exciting to you? Like, how are you thinking about technology in general these days?
Well, it's funny. You go up to a ticket counter at an airport, and they're struggling to try and work the computer system, and everybody makes jokes that as advanced as technology is, sometimes it would be easier to go back to paper tickets or
right.
So we've all struggled to work through the glitches in technology. But if you think about it, when I first got into the business or into sales right out of college, I remember having to pull off to the side of the road to use a payphone. I had 11-digit number for my AT&T credit card, or
right.
Friday afternoon or Monday morning, I have to pull into a hotel, and there'll be a bank of phones, and every salesperson in the area will be trying to make calls and make appointments, and you don't know if your competitor is sitting next to you or not. Technology has just made it really easy. I bring my phone, my computer. When I go on vacation, it's funny, I will be fully connected, and I relax that way. Knowing that everything is taken care of, there's nothing that I need to attend to, I can then relax. The other way, if I don't know what's going on, even though I'm away on vacation, I still couldn't relax. So it's really helped me. It's made me more efficient. I think it's given me more freedom, and I can focus more on what's really important to me at times, because I know that I'm on top of things, and if I need to react to something, I can. So I think technology has been a great benefit. So I think it's all positive, and being in the forefront of autonomous driving, I think it's just it's a phenomenal opportunity, and really excited to see it happen. Just to think that my grandchildren will probably never learn how to drive. It's just it is incredible. But then again, look at our generation, what we went through, and black and white TV to now you see these 4K TVs, and the picture is like so real, and just what we experienced and what our kids are experiencing now. It's just amazing how quickly things are growing, and it seems like it's moving faster and faster.
Absolutely, I certainly feel it, and you know what, that leads into my next question in terms of reinvention and keeping your mind open. So how do how do you continue to keep your mind open? Because it can be overwhelming, or you can get sort of stuck in your channel or your particular job or whatever, and not appreciate and not see how the world is changing, and maybe get blindsided, like you think about the the e-commerce world and all the dead malls out there, and just think how things are shifting around quickly. It sounds like you're very nimble in terms of the way you think and the way you appreciate technology. How do you keep your mind open to
I
it?
do a lot of reading, but it's not through books. It's mainly through articles. Subscribe to CNBC, watch CNBC in the morning, so really look at from a business standpoint and see what things are happening business-wise that impact technology, the mergers, the acquisitions, the partnerships, and just to be able to get news alerts on my phone. So keeping up on that, and usually I'll start watching the Financial Channel or going through news feeds at say 3 a.m., 4 a.m. with a cup of coffee. So that'll be the first thing I do, and seeing what's really changed
Right.
and keeping up to date. I think that's really important.
Right. Well, I think so too. And when you're describing that, I'm thinking like, oh man, that's what I do. I do a lot of those same things because I'm just so interested in I'm just interested in it, and how it's going to affect us, and it's just so exciting to me just to see how things are really changing. And now it's sort of like, you and I have worked in the technology world, so we've always seen, just amazing things happen just, kind of because of science and technology and engineering behind the scenes. But now I feel like all this technology is coming out to play like in normal society,
Right.
like right in our face every day. I mean, it's just really a wild thing to witness.
Well, it's funny. I just got done reading William Shatner's book, and the reason I picked that up was I was watching CNBC, and William Shatner was on there and describing part of his life, and it's an autobiography to a certain extent, but very very interesting person, and his involvement in Star Trek, and when you see the phones and the video conferencing that took place back then as a
Right.
concept, and now see it play out in real life. And then you look at things like the Jetsons, and okay, is that where we're headed? Because companies like Volkswagen and Airbus are working on these hovering vehicles. So we're not that far away from a lot of what we watched as kids are now coming to fruition. So it's really exciting, and it's really interesting to look back and see what we fantasized about really come true.
It really is, and that makes me think about this final question for you in terms of, as you've gone through your career and recently just got into this new zone that really is now moving fast and really opening up a lot of different opportunities. What's a reinvention revelation you can share with everybody about something you may not have appreciated or known or surprised you over the last few years, getting involved in Israel, for example? Anything you can share with us?
So reinvention, I guess just what it takes to put an autonomous vehicle on the road, and all the work that's going on, and the different sensors and the sensor suite, and our involvement, and talking to the customers, and mainly my focus has been on the OEMs and tier ones, and just seeing how all this comes together has been really really eye-opening, and to see the advancement and time frame move up, the window move up to where this is really going to be reality, and by 2020 a lot of this could be in play. We see the trucking industry be more advanced. We see the mobility as a service, the Ubers, the Lyfts, the Zoox really move forward with this technology rather quickly. They'll benefit from it. And then just the benefits of the technology itself as we move to autonomous driving. I've been in LA this week and seeing the traffic. A lot of that will go away. People don't understand the side benefits of not of having fully autonomous and fully controlled vehicles. There won't be any traffic. Cars will be able to determine the best route based on the time and activity, how to get to a certain location relatively quickly. So our lives are just going to become much easier to, our mobility is going to become much easier.
Right. We'll definitely have more time to, discover or work or play more. Who knows, but the world is going to be way different.
Right.
That's for sure.
I know what's going to happen from a standpoint of, you see robotics taking over the world and so forth. What is it going to look like from a human standpoint? What is our work week going to look like? What kind of jobs are we going to be doing going forward 5-10 years from now? So a lot is going to change. We're really going to be impacted by the use of AI and sensor technology, and it'll be interesting to see how that really impacts what you and I and what our kids are going to be doing a couple of years out.
Right. Yeah. Well, I already feel that the workplace has changed dramatically. I remember when I first started working at General Motors, everybody was wearing white shirts and ties and suits and all this kind of stuff, and you had to go to the office and be on time and do all this stuff, and now it's sort of like much more casual, and everybody's working out of their home office from time to time, and just the whole workflow has really changed. And now there's all this kind of opportunity for entrepreneurship and solopreneurship and more startups and nimble companies out there. I have no idea what it's going to look like. Probably more project-based stuff, I'm thinking, where people come together and really create something new and get it out there, and then sort of the autonomous part of the world takes it over, and then you go back and work on another project. Sort of the manufacturing will be sort of much more dialed in, I think. It's just kind of what I'm thinking about. But anyways, hey, Bill, thanks for being on the show. We need to get out of here, but before we do, if people want to learn more about Arbe Robotics or what you're doing, or want to connect with you, have some questions, where would you send them? How would they get in touch?
First, I would recommend they go up on YouTube and look at Arbe Robotics and look at the videos that we've done with our proof of concept. So gives you an indication of how a 4D imaging radar would look, and being able to pick out moving objects versus stationary objects. And so what the scene will be inside the server, what the server will be seeing from the output of a sensor. And then you can go on our site, arberobotics.com, and pull down white papers, the information on the company and the technology. And then if anybody wants to reach out to me as listening to this webcast and like to have just a discussion, I'd be very open to talk to anybody about the technology and where the industry is going. You can reach out to me, bill.l at arberobotics.com.
Okay, perfect. Well, I'll definitely have all the information in the show notes, so you can look for it there. And Bill, thanks again for being on.
Jim, really appreciate it. Thanks for your time. Take care.
Thank you for listening to Jim's Reinvention Revolution podcast. If you want to hear more, join our mailing list at jimjimsreinventionrevolution.com. See you next time, and remember, the revolution has just begun. So dig in, embrace the process of reinvention, and start realizing the success you've always dreamed of. Hey, revolutionaries, if you enjoyed today's episode and today's guest, let them know by commenting on their Facebook page, finding their Twitter handle or Instagram feed, and letting them know you heard them on Jim's Reinvention Revolution podcast, and tell them what you got out of the episode, what you really liked, or how they inspired you. I know they would get a kick out of it, and will help others find the same value that you found.